it is the surface, but it's actually the surface going into the deep and the dark web. So first of all, let's just talk about the open internet, right? So most internet services, you can just go to the web page and you can gain that information. And why it's relevant, the deep web, the dark web, and the internet from a cybersecurity perspective is because we're really focused on threats, malware, and vulnerabilities. And you can find lots of threats, malware, and vulnerabilities on the open internet. You can go and download different script kiddie hacks. You can find stuff, open passwords. You can see who's pawned. There's a lot of things you can do on the open internet that you don't even need to go on the deep web. And so the deep web's just another layer, right? So the deep web, when someone's talking about the deep web, this is more, you have to authenticate to gain access. So you might have a special group you're in and maybe there's passwords, or you're wanting to get onto the dark web. So as you probably found out, it's not just as easy as just doing a little research. You have to go through multiple layers to get from the deep web into the dark web. So that's all the deep web is. And then the dark web is usually a point-to-point service. But a lot of times when we're looking at it from a cybersecurity perspective, when we're talking about the dark web, we're talking about the nefarious things that go on specific to cybersecurity and privacy. So for example, you got on Tor, or you have it on your service, you might have had to authenticate for point-to-point to get onto the different groups, and maybe they had things that you shouldn't see, things you shouldn't download, and that's a pretty good chance of that. But the dark web that we're concerned about is more where there might be significant breach information and there's an auction. So let's say one of our customers had a breach and they're gonna put out the initial username and passwords to prove the breach is valid, right? So you could go down and you could download them, you could authenticate to that network, and that might get you as far as you need, and you might not want to buy the secondary breach data. But that's why the dark web is important to us. But in order to get into that room, you might have to prove you are someone or something that is, maybe not police or the FBI. So you would have to maybe provide credentials or provide credit cards or do some things to authenticate to that specific service. And so, those things such as breaches, stolen passwords, credit cards. And the other thing that happens on the deep web and the dark web that we're really focusing on is those attacks. So I talked about before, you might be able to get some script kiddie stuff off the open web, but maybe you're looking for a specific hack against a specific device in a specific nation. And you can put that out there on the dark web, and you might have people say, well, if you give me so much Bitcoin or whatever, I have that. So there's nefarious activity, and that's really when we're talking about the open internet, the deep web and the dark web, that's what we're worried about.